Assassin's Promise by Thomas Woodward. Chapter 61. Where is your friend? Come now, child. Tell me and I won't kill you. The odd sound grated against Kayana's ears. It was difficult to tell how old the speaker was, or even what gender. There was a rasping, grating quality to the voice. But the inflection of the words was wrong, as if they did not know how to speak the common tongue. Almost as if they were merely mimicking noises they had heard before. Millie drew another labored breath. There was a longer interval between it and the last. If you do not speak, I will crush the air from your lungs, slowly. I only tell you this because I enjoy it. Hush, hush, hush now, child. You only have enough air for perhaps another few words. Make sure to make them count. A gasping sound continued. Kayana realized the child could die if she did not act quickly. However, so did she realize that giving away her position could potentially cost them both of their lives if her enemy waited with weapon drawn. Kayana needed a distraction. Fumbling silently with a handful of sand and dirt, she felt for a small rock but found none. She was out of time. Using only the muscles in her forearm, she silently whipped the dagger across the passageway against a rocky outcropping. The harsh sound of metal against stone was loud in her ears. Immediately, she heard the scrape of movement from around the corner, accompanied by a sharp hiss. Blessedly, Kayana heard another labored breath from Millie. Where are you, vermin? I know you are close now. I will gut you both like raw fish. You only prolong the inevitable. Heneb, come! The grating voice rang out like a shower of gravel on a slate wall. Kayana did the unexpected. Wasting no precious time, she climbed up the rocky wall and timed the shouts, letting her enemy's words provide the cover for her movements. Silence stretched again. She had climbed perhaps 7 feet up the steep wall of jutting rock. Kayana hung in limbo, waiting for the hangman. Would he find their wooden stool? One sharp, quick kick would be enough. I have the luxury of time. Do you? Heneb will be with us soon, and then together we will gut you. Come, coward! Death awaits. Kayana continued to climb, matching each pull of her arms and legs with the howling shouts of anger. Pride was nothing. When the sound stopped, she froze. She could almost reach the crest of a rock wall. If she guessed right, she would be able to see down on her enemy once she climbed up. All she needed was a little more noise to cover her. The rocks echoed with hoofbeats. Another rider, perhaps two, were quickly approaching. Millie's breath was coming more regularly for the moment. Kayana must keep her enemy distracted from the child. Do you hear that? It is the tolling of the bells. Your time draws to a close. So sweet, so bitter. Kayana risked everything and dropped her heavy sword. A loud metallic clatter reverberated beneath her. Using the last bit of sound, Kayana pulled herself up the final few feet, even as she heard the rush of footfalls from below. Crouching for a moment on top of the rocky peak, she saw Millie below, lying on the ground. Her enemy sounded below her, from behind. Rolling with precision, Kayana dropped the 12 feet or so to the sandy dirt below. As she did so, a heavy thunk of a crossbow bolt thudded. Having effectively traded places with her enemy, Kayana blocked the path with her body. Weaponless, Kayana waited as a heavily armored figure emerged from around the bend where she had originally been hiding. You are cunning and beautiful, but I will strangle you both before the sun sets. Heneb! Dolaran! The heavy clatter of hoofbeats was much louder in Kayana's ears. Like a trapped animal, she stood protectively over her charge, unwilling to give ground. Instead, she opened her arms wide, as if to embrace a long-lost loved one. The armed figure did not need any further sign. Moving like lightning, they stabbed with a bronze blade that shot forth like steam from a kettle. Kayana felt the blade enter the soft flesh of her shoulder. Then she wrapped the hangman in the lover's embrace. She did not open her eyes while she hugged, flexing her muscles on the small, sensitive area of the neck. She increased the pressure. Then, with a popping sound and a sharp crack, she released. Blood pooled on the ground beneath her battered shoulder. The blade fell from the grasp of her enemy in fingers that could no longer feel. Woozy from the exertion, Kayana wobbled on her feet. The pain bloomed like fire in her shoulder where she had been stabbed. She had no time to wrap the wound, the hoofbeats loud in her ears. She sank to her knees and stumbled over to Millie, who lay breathing in sharp gasps. They needed to be away from here. Gathering the young woman as best she could, Kayana whispered, "They will be upon us in any moment. We must hide. Can you move?" Nodding her assent, Millie pulled herself forward with her good arm, crouching unsteadily near the other woman. Kayana tugged Millie along, pulling her around the nearest bend in the rocky passage. A braying horse could be heard just within earshot. Kayana wondered if they should attempt to cover themselves in the sand and dirt of the path. They would risk being trampled if the horses ran roughshod over them, however. If even one of the riders was a halfway decent tracker, there would be no escaping them. Kayana knew the long odds in facing them, as both Millie and she were already wounded. Her only option would be to lose them in the passages up ahead, praying they did not follow the right one. She pulled Millie onwards, each step lurching. She could no longer hear hoofbeats. The riders must have stopped to inspect the body of their companion. Wasting no time, the two women pressed onwards, coming to the intersection of several rocky passages, extending forth like a labyrinth. Choosing one at random, she pulled Millie close as they made their way forward. The path was twisting and rocky, hard-packed dirt under their feet.